Prime Network. I'm Andre Van Zark, and let's get things flowing and running. As much as I would like to be here on camera, I'm gonna do it audio only, just for the fact that it's more comfortable in YouTube Shorts to do it this way. And I'm more of a radio person, so this is a sports radio news show. I'm trying to get this running and flowing as best as I can. Um, so let's get things flowing. Let me see if I can share this um, to um, my social media. Before I am back, and I hope that everything is flowing. Let me check. I am back, and I hope that everything is flowing. Let me check. Over here, things are flowing as best as it could. Let me check my profile here for a second. Blah blah blah. Alrighty, we are good. Alright, we should be running and flowing as best as we can. Let me check on YouTube, see if it's all flowing as best as it can, because it's a little concerning sometimes. If it's working or not as intended. Let's see. We should be live at this point in time. Yes, sir. Wait. Wait a second. Let me get my headphones to check. Alright, we are good. We are running. We are flowing. And things have been running as best as we can. And I hope that you are all enjoying yourself as most of us are. Let's see if we can get things flowing over here. The sad part is that it's happening on this side. I don't know if it's happening on the shorts. I think it's happening on shorts. It should be. Anywho, if you're on the show right now, you can tap in right in. But we're gonna discuss some latest news. Recently, we had one of the rookies on the LPGA Tour win, Miranda Wong. That was incredible. I actually enjoyed that tour, the FM championship. That was extremely good, if you ask me. I would enjoy to see more of Miranda Wong. She is a Duke alumni, and that is a player to be looking after, a player that we should all be looking after, because, it's not normal when a rookie gets their first professional tour to start playing, and then they start their career, and they beat the number one, Gino Thickencool, Gino Thickencool, the number one. Again, I repeat myself, the number one on the entire world. Gino. She beat Gino. That's not something you commonly see. She's the seventh Chinese player to win this whole thing on the LPGA. And I think that if we continue to see more of these players, she surpassed the milestone that Shashan Fang had done before. Shashan Fang was a great Chinese player, great Chinese golfer, if I might say so myself. And honestly, there is a lot of good things to be getting ourselves acquainted with, because every time that we showcase ourselves with more women joining in the amazing and the awesome LPGA league, it's been 75 years since women have been playing golf professionally in an organized format, where there is tours and all that. And I honestly would love to continue seeing more women do what Miranda Wong did. start as a rookie and showcase that great uh, golfing is not about being number one. It's about having the skill and the determination to do it, you know? That's the stuff that I like to see, you know? Players that are determined to do what they have to do, and they don't care what other people say. Like, what are you doing? You should go on these other sides. It's more up on your par until you reach there. No, if I can go to the top and dismantle the one on the top, why not? Why not go there and dismantle the one on the top? That is what I have been trying to say this whole time, you know? You know, it's something that most people don't wrap their head around because, you know, it's a common thing. We see that in boxing, in UFC, we see that in basketball. We see that in many different sports out there where don't matter the genre who's participating, but in this case, I like to showcase the women that are starting their career, and then people go like, "Dude, don't go up against the big one." No, start at the bottom. And I'm like, no, that's not always the case. That's not how it always has to be. You know, there are different ways to portray this and work around it. You know, we don't always have to start from the bottom. Sometimes you can, if you can do the leap and go straight to the big guy and show what you got. Why not? You know, sure. And when I'm talking about not starting from the bottom sometimes and starting straight on the top, is that I mean professionally, because obviously in your amateur standpoint of your life, you do have to go through the steps. You know, you do have to learn the skills. You do have to learn all that stuff. You know, it's like when I was learning how to play drums. In my amateur days, I had to learn every ins and out. But once I got professional, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go straight over there, and I did that. I did a few concerts here and there, and boom. And same thing with the with other stuff that I've determined myself to. For example, I've heard a lot of people tell me this. Oh, you want to be a sports journalist? You gotta report the new ones, the ones on the bottom, the ones that are trying to get there. You know, and I'm like, okay, sure, that's the case. That's the case. I need to report the new ones, the ones that are trying to get to the top. All right, sure, but sometimes you do have to get yourself into the big guns straight ahead to get your momentum started, because not everybody's gonna be aware of the new ones. You know, you have to scoot in. You have to blend in. You have to blend in the new ones with the ones that are already established. That's how you do it. That's how you get things started. You know, because you have to keep in mind that sure, these are professionals. These are on the top, and these are starting. But at some point, at some extent, the ones on the top, they were rookies at some point. You know, we don't always had a Gino Cool. Gino wasn't always number one. Gino Cool had to go through some steps to reach to her momentum and get to that number one stage. You know, same with Nelly Corda. Nelly Corda is another player that obviously she didn't became top overnight. That's something you gradually worked into, but you had to sometimes blend in with the big guns in order to let yourself be known. If not, what are you gonna do? And for those of you joining in, welcome, welcome. We're talking about, you know, showcasing and empowering women in sports, and most importantly, showcasing those rookies that are out there. If you're in here, make sure to stay, make sure to comment, and make sure to get yourself started talking about what you enjoy about women in sports, you know, because that's the stuff that we need to be talking about, you know, the stuff that we need to be showcasing as much as we can, you know. So, that being said, I want you to tell me your favorite players when it comes to women leagues, from basketball to LPGA to maybe women's hockey to maybe whatchamacallit, softball, my favorite. Now the upcoming women's baseball. We can talk about that one too. Let me know who are your favorite players from each side, and I want you to actually tell me your rookies, the rookies that you like, the rookies that you are into. Those are the players. Because reason, like I said, we had Miranda Wong, and it's not common. It's not common when you see a player like Miranda Wong. Miranda Wong is a rookie. She came from Duke, as I was saying, and she instantly, with all powers, went ahead from Nelly Corda, Gino Tickentule, you know, many other players. I can tell you here a little bit of who Miranda Wong is, and how she became the player that she is, Miranda Miranda Wong, let's get ourselves a little bit, let's get ourselves a little bit here. Here we go. Miranda Wong right now. We just saw that we finished the FM championship, in Boston, and she ended up with 20 under par, right? And she overpassed Gino Tickentule, Kim, Andrea Lee, Zhang, many good players that I've been mentioning. And I thought Andrea Lee was gonna do something. I thought she was gonna be the one giving us good momentum and a good stardom there. But that wasn't the case. She didn't give us that stardom. But I do have some stuff that I wrote about from Andrea. When we were at halfway in the FM championship, Andrea Lee was trailing by 4, after 54 holes at the FM championship, She was trying to chase the lead, take her second win again. But Andrea Lee is firmly in the hunt for her elusive second LPGA Tour victory, which sadly did not happen because we all know that Miranda Wong was the one that took it. So Miranda Wong took it, and Lee was trying to get her second win again. But, it was 54 holes that we needed to finish in order to be crowned the victorious one, right? Crown the victorious. And honestly, Andrea Lee was the one that was catching my attention. She ended up in the leaderboard. She ended up number 4 in the leaderboard. Number four. And there were also a few Japanese rookies that were starting off, like Hataoka. We had Yamashita. We had Furue, and we have Iwai. Furue is not really a rookie. My bad with that one. But Iwai and Hagatoga are rookies that were starting off right here. But Furue is a player that I've seen quite often. But it's a little crazy. I'm still trying to process in my own little head how Miranda Wong came out of nowhere. She started her career as a professional golfer, and boom, she overthrown number 1 bests. The top 3 bests. Like, you tell me, folks. Honestly, tell me. Come on. You tell me. How incredible is that? When have you ever seen a rookie blast off, not in a few tournaments, in one single tournament, in the entire LPGA history for the Chinese, that have only happened 7 times. That is not that common. 7 times. And how many years have we been having the LPGA? 75 years. It's been 75 years. Like, there ain't nothing else that has happened as often as that. And that is what I want to continue, you know? The male side has the Riders Cup. That's where almost all players are trying to look into. But for the women, we have the Solheim. The Solheim is where all women are trying to go to play golf and try to be crowned victorious as the best of the best, the cream of the cream, the top of the top. You know, they want to be peak, as they say, peak. And those are things that people are not getting themselves wrapped around. Like a former Duke player holds up #1 and becomes 24th in different winners on the LPGA in 2025. Out of 24 people, she destroyed, annihilated the #1. Guess it wasn't a good tour for Gino, you know, and crazy to say the least, crazy. I wish more stuff like this continues to happen. And you know, and this honestly is a great start, um, specifically from this year and on, that the Asian people, more than just the Koreans, because we all know Koreans are amazing at playing golf, but I'm talking about in general Asians. This showcases that Asians are like the top of the top when it comes to golfing, you know. Many different sports give you Europeans, Americans, Latinos. Many different sports give you all those three. But golf, specifically on the LPGA, on the Ladies Professional Golf Association, we have more Asians than ever. And I am all down for that. I am down for it. I am excited for it. And I would like for that to continue. And we need to strive a little bit from seeing too many on the top Koreans. You know, I was enjoying that. One of the Asians that was on top was Gino. You know, because she's from Thailand. You know, so that's the thing. Now moving on to different topics here. In the United Nations on UN News Global Perspective Human Stories wrote, "We need to value women in sports." United Nations Rights Chief says, I'm down for that. I am actually down for that. You know, because okay, sure, fine. Women do play sports. That's a thing. We can't change that fact. And it's a given fact. Women do in fact play sports. But the thing that we're trying to do here, it's not that to say, oh, women play sports, yada yada yada. No. That's not what we're trying to say here. That's not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do here is let y'all know that not just that they play sports, they can be as good as males, and they should be broadcasted as much as possible, and people should pay the tickets if you have the possibility to play, to sit down and watch any of these girls play sports. And if it's an amateur league, then be able to show up, sit down, and enjoy yourself a good time. That's what we're trying to do here. And the United Nations is trying to say the same thing, you know? So the playing field is still far from level, Mr. Turek said. You know, so in the past few years, top flight women's sports competition have achieved increasing global prominence with around 1 billion people. You know, we recently saw on the AUSL a lot of girls being inspired by all the women that are part of the AUSL, and wanting to be just like them. And I say, why not? Let's fulfill their dreams. It's sad that when they went to that game where they were supposed to play with, you know, girls that are in the little league, and it started to rain, and the weather got really bad, and stuff like that, ruined the whole thing. But before that, most of those women had a chance to, participate in some events with the little league girls, and give them a chance to be part of the vibe that these women provide. For me, the AUSL, it's more than a sport. It's more than a league. It's an inspiration. An inspiration that we don't care what people say. We don't care what others say. What we care is that we are inspiring a new generation of women to continue to play. That's what the AUSL for me means. It's more than just softball. Sure, softball is it's the main focus. It's the reason why I watch the AUSL. But we gotta look further from the AUSL, from the softball league. We gotta see this as an inspiration. And those of you listening right now to the show, well, those of you listening, let me know. Are you on? Are you down for more women in sports? Are you gonna empower those women? Make sure that you do so, because if you don't do it, you are wasting your time. You gotta like, share, and subscribe to this show in order to get yourself started, empowering more women. So, let's continue here. Watching the FIFA's Women's World Cup in 2023, this visibility and attention have prompted important conversations about stereotypes and power dynamics in women's sports. He noted that certain groups face barrier and discrimination in the women's sporting world, like, for example, the LGBTIQ, TIQ plus women wearing headscarves, women with disabilities, and women from marginalized ethnic and racial groups. Quoting here, we need to build up a world of sports in which women and girls in all of their diversity are equally valuable, visible, and paid. Because, all right, when we're talking about, when it comes to being paid, that we want equal rights from women and male to be paid equally, we're not saying, oh, you gotta raise the women to reach the male's equivalent of paychecks and pay rate. No. In fact, I do think that males are overpaid. I do think that male sports athletes and all that are overpaid, in my opinion. I think that they are overpaid, and we should lower that pay rate from the male side in order to sync it up with the women. Sure, we might be saying, oh, these women are getting paid so little. Why would we change the pay rate for the males? The males are the ones that have been pushing sports as much as possible. From in baseball, from Barry Bonds, in basketball with Michael Jordan, and many other players. In boxing, we got Miguel Cotto, and Oscar de la Hoya. We got Mayweather. There's many different players. Right now in baseball, we got Otani. And a lot of Japanese players are coming in from the male side on the MLB, and they're making those leagues be shown more, and making people get more interested in it. Sure, we can argue that. We can argue that males have been the ones that have been putting sports out there. But it's not the males just because the males are doing what they got to do. No, 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 no. It's the media. If the media wants to showcase more males, then that's what's going to happen. More males are going to be broadcasted, more males are going to be shown, and more males are going to be recognized and remembered. If we do the same thing with women, if we broadcast women's sports as often as we should, we would have a different story. Sure, a day only has 24 hours. In the case of ESPN, for example, they have to balance it out with games, news, and talk shows, and analysis of players. But that's another point that I wanted to bring now that I'm talking about ESPN. If you're gonna do more talk shows, if you're gonna do more sports centers, top tens, if you're gonna do all that kind of stuff, we need to do more often women and balance it out. It can't always be about the NBA. Back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, for example, if we get ourselves aware of, let's say, for example, pardon the interruption, for example, on ESPN. If we continue to talk about that, about the NFL, I know that show's all about the NFL. Okay, fine, sure. I know that's all about the NFL. But I know that it's not as popular as the NFL, but we have NFL flag with the women. If we take our time to showcase a bit more of that, we could potentially do something. I know the Super Bowl is a big event. Why don't we do more shows in ESPN, for example, where they talk about women with the NFL flag, for example. NFL is it's one of the most popular sports in ESPN, other than MLB and NBA. So why can't we just give ourselves a bit more flag to showcase more women within that side? You know, there's a lot of leagues out there that actually have women. But the problem is the media. We have to change the mentality of the media. You know, for example, throughout the months, the years, and the seasons that we are experiencing all these sports, in many shapes and forms, at almost an equal rate, we have women's NBA basketballs and NBA games, for example, right? Exact equal amounts. But most of the time, during the holiday, all you see is NBA when they want to showcase basketball. The only time when they favor women's basketball is on March Madness with the NCAA, with women's basketball, which is where most of the rookies come in to the WNBA. But are we gonna just let that slide? Are we just gonna let people be like, all right, sure, I don't care. If they don't showcase too much women's NBA, whatever. All they do is alley oop, alley oop, alley oop. What do you mean alley oop all the time? What do you mean? They're just doing that kind of no, the kind of stuff. No, 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 no. Women do in fact do as much as male when it comes to playing basketball. There's a lot of women that have dunked. Brittany Griner. That's a perfect example. There's another one that I can't remember now. She's from the 90s. Women's NBA players that have dunked before. All right. Here we go. Players that have dunked before in the WNBA. We have one of my interests in the one of the first players that I ever talked about when it comes to women's NBA. Lisa Leslie. Lisa Leslie. She was one of the first ones to dunk in women's NBA. First one to dunk. Second, we have Michelle Snow. After that, Cadence Parker made a dunk. And I'm talking about professional players that have been broadcasted or showcased at some extent that made history. That's what I'm talking about. We got Sylvia Fowles. As I mentioned before, Brittany Griner, which I saw her dunk not just on the women's NBA, but on Rival. She did also dunk on Unrival. Jonkel Jones, Liz Cambage, and a walk courier. At this point in time, Brittany Griner is the women's NBA all-time leader in dunks with 27 career dunks as the 2025 season. That's the thing. That is a thing. You know? That is a thing that we have to keep ourselves aware of, you know? Ooh. Alright, let me keep that in there. Can I? I would love to change the video format, but whatever. Whatever. Here we are with some sports news. So there is women out there that have actually dunked before. There is a lot of people that we can talk about, you know? Like I've been saying, sorry that I didn't have my camera on. It's just that for a while, I didn't feel like it because whatever. Yeah, I can't put my stuff in black and white. Whatever. Anyways, the thing is that there is a lot of players out there that are making history with women in sports, you know? Like I was mentioning first, Lisa Leslie, the first player to dunk in women's NBA game in 2022. Then we have Michelle Snow, the second player to dunk in the women's NBA game, first doing so in a All-Star game. And then after that, we got Cadence Parker, the third player to dunk, and the first to do so in a playoff. So Sylvia Flawless also dunked in the women's NBA game. Brittany Griner, the most prolific dunker in the women's NBA. She has done 27 career dunks as of 2027. 27 career dunks! And any of you right here, right now, that are just listening to me, and you're going to just disprove that women's NBA sucks, you better rethink yourself. Better watch women's NBA and an Unrival. Those two things are going to make you rethink. And you got to watch a little more. Sure, you might give me the counter argument. If it wasn't for the NBA putting the women there, we wouldn't have seen, women in basketball. Let me tell you, the biggest event in basketball history is not a women's NBA event. I'm gonna tell you that one right there. I'm gonna tell you that right there. The biggest women's basketball event is not even an NBA game. It's not even part of the women's NBA. It's a college event. It's the March Madness. Which this year, a lot of crazy things happen. You know? Players having torn ACLs and stuff like that, you know? We've had a great amount, a plethora of great college events. And that is what most people are getting themselves interested in. It's not people watching women's NBA. No. It's a NCAA event. I repeat myself, NCAA event. That's what people are watching. That's what people are getting themselves into. You know? So you can't be telling me that women's NBA, women are being watched on the TV screen or in the streamings and whatnot because it's part of the NBA's ecosystem. I repeat you again, the NCAA has the biggest women's basketball event in the entire year. And you can't be telling me otherwise. Man, sometimes I'm trying to understand the mentality behind the people, and some people, mind you, some people need to put on their glasses and see things better, have a better mindset, because I don't know what they're thinking. Anywho, getting ourselves back into all these news and events. Let me get ourselves aware here a little bit. Going back here to what I was talking about with the United Nations. So, the pay gap, the stark pay gap. So while professionals, male footballers earn on average of 1.8 million, I repeat myself, 1.8 million dollars annually at the top of clubs, women's athletes at top clubs have an average income of 24,000, and the average women athletes not on top clubs earn even less than that, rounding out to approximately 10,900 per year. There's a big stark marginable pay rate from male to female. We can't see that otherwise. You can't just put your hand in the sky and block the sun and all of a sudden everything is dark. No. Reality is the reality. Facts are facts. No changing in that. So, that being said, without a stable income, women are forced to take other jobs, leaving them with less time and energy to focus on training and improving, Mr. Turk said. And if more women are having to take other sorts of jobs, which, for example, in my island of Puerto Rico, there's a female basketball, which I can't quite remember her name, which she did play for a while as a professional, and her pay rate wasn't that great, so she had to go help her dad with the farm to sustain herself. Because she was like, I know that the basketball wasn't going to be a thing that I was going to be able to do for quite a few years. I knew it was going to be a short-term thing. And I'm like, okay, that's the whole problem that we're facing. That's the whole problem that I'm trying to advocate here. That we are forcing women to have to take other jobs, to have to do other things, to have to stop promoting more women in sports to sustain themselves. And honestly, that shouldn't be the case. And secondly, if less women are participating in sports and less women are having less time to practice and get better at their skill and craft and and having to have less time for everything in general, the problem is, and hear me out, the problem is that there are going to be less chances for women to be showcased on broadcasts less people being interested in women's sports to buy the tickets and go to the stadiums or um the dime or watch girls playing the diamond and yada yada yada. That's the whole problem. That's the whole dealio that I'm trying to advocate here. That I'm trying to tell you and let you all know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I've been telling you before. But you don't listen. All you do is just argue that women shouldn't be even playing hardcore sports. They should be playing all those fancy dandy sports that are not even that hardcore. And I'm like, women can play whatever the fuck they want. And I'm going to say it like that because that's the way I see it. That's how strong I feel about it. Women can play whatever they want. So the wage gap is made even more unsustainable by a lack of sufficient protections in the workplace. Minimal, if any, maternity leave, and few places to turn to for redress when harassment occurs. You know? So despite such sobering statistic, some federations have begun to institute changes ensuring maternity and adoption leave and stabilizing pay equally agreements, which should be a case all the time. We shouldn't be you know we shouldn't be doing none of that, you know. But I guess for this to be a thing, for women to be paid equally, or for males to lower their pay rate and level it out with women, which if males are going to be overpaid, why can't women be overpaid? Because I think that some players are a little bit overpaid. I wouldn't pay if I was the owner of a sports league, or the owner of a club, or a sports team or something. I wouldn't pay more than $1 million to my players. I wouldn't. If I have all the money in the world, I wouldn't pay them more than $1 million a year. I'm not even gonna question that. That is my limit, $1 million. Because some pay rates for some players are a bit too exaggerated just to play as sports. You know, even even musicians, when they get to the top of the top, they don't even get to that state of charging or getting paid that much. Um, and you can argue, sure, they have a different industry and things are wired a little different. But no, I digress. What you're gonna tell me, I digress, and I think that things should be more balanced out. So we need to drive social change, and we need to get ourselves a little bit um aware of things, and change our mentality, because it's 2025. It's again 2025. And we're still having to talk about equality. Whether it is equality of gender or equality of skin. Because as much as we would like to talk about it, at some extent, there is still, and I'm not even joking, and I'm not even joshing you, there is still racial problems. And one of the things that I hate the most from males that watch women in sports, which I actually have a short video about it, where males are just focusing on their behind, on their front chest, if I might say so myself, put it that way. Um, And I'm like, why should we care about how good she looks? When instead, we should care on how great she can manage the sport that she's playing. I'm just going to leave you with that one. I'm going to leave you with that one. Should a player's physique matter more than their skill? And I'm talking about women, because that don't happen that much on the male side, even though some females be like, I like that player. But that doesn't happen that often. Males don't get diminished by their physique. We also saw on football, on the soccer side, people talking blabber, like I tell you, I kid you not, extreme blabber from one of the newest signed players, one of the signed players. She's a Scottish player, if I'm not mistaken, with Sky Stouts. Sky Stouts. She was highly criticized and had a high backlash from everybody, just focusing on her extreme acne. And I'm like, women and players and humans in general, they all have problems, skin problems. Everybody has some sort of problem that they have to attack, or maybe they can't attack it as they wish, and they can only mitigate it at some extent. Who cares if she has a bunch of acne? Can she play good? Yes, sir. Can she play Can she score? Yes, ma'am. Can she do stuff that male players can do? Of course. Then why should we care if she has acne or not? But I guess we're not gonna do anything about it. But anyways, I'm gonna leave you with that one. I'm gonna let you think on that one. I'm gonna let you all soak in on that. I know I said a bunch of different stuff here, from rookies to equality. But I'm gonna leave you that one. I'm gonna leave you with that one. I'm gonna let you all soak in on that. And if you have something to say, let me know down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because that's the stuff that we need to be doing. And remember, to power women in sports lies in the ability to unite with the challenges and to inspire. That's how we empower women in sports. Remember that. Remember, the power of sports lies in the ability to unite, challenge, and inspire. And most of these women are trying to do that. So let's keep that spirit alive. Remember, now you can hit me up on X or on subscribe here on YouTube, so you never miss out with another news on women in sports. So keep swinging for the fences. Bye.